Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Secretary, would you please read the notice of the meeting? Thank you.
Notice is hereby given that the 124th Annual General Meeting of the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine is declared open. Mr. Jim McKenna, Chair of the Lstm Board of Trustees, will chair the meeting. Those present should already have signed the attendance sheet on arrival. There's no planned fire drill for this afternoon, so in the event of the alarm sounding, staff will direct you to the nearest exit. We do ask that mobile phones are turned off during the meeting and presentation. I would also point out that 32 members who've been unable to join us in person have already emailed their voting forms to us, allowing the Chair to act as their proxy and to cast their votes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to you. This is our 124th Annual General Meeting, so welcome to all of you in the room, and also to those who are joining us online. I extend a very warm welcome to the Lord Lieutenant. Mark, it's very kind of you to continue to support us, and also to Judith Greensham, who's the Deputy. Again, very warm welcome to you. It's great to have you both here. So this afternoon, as well as going through the formal business of the AGM, David, John and I will give out our annual report. But I'm also delighted to be able to welcome Dr. Henry Mumbumba, who's the director of our Malawi Liverpool Welcome Programme, and Henry will talk to us about the very critical work that he and his team do in Malawi. So Henry, very kind of you to again make the long trip. You must be getting very used to airports, I think, in the last month. So thank you very much on a personal level. Can I turn to the formal business of the AGM and then walk you through it? We begin with item 1, which is apologies for absence, of which there have been, if I am correct, David and Helen, there have been 45 as to, thank you very much. Item 2 is to seek approval for the minutes of the 123rd Annual General Meeting held on the 1st of December last year. Can I have a proposer, please? Mark, thank you. And also a seconder. Thank you very much. And also members, happy to approve. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much. I will record that the minutes are now approved, and they'll be approved and signed accordingly. If we move on to item 3, which is matters arising, I can formally report that there are no matters arising raised with regards to the previous AGM, and no matters have been raised in relation to the resolutions being put forward today. I'm going to move on to item 4, Vice Presidents. Under item 4.1 and Article 10.8.1, I would like to advise that Steve Mogford retired from our membership in February of this year. Steve was an active member of Lstm for over 12 years, and we would like to record our thanks for the great support that he gave us. Under Article 11.11.7, we'd like to confer the honorary title of Emeritus Vice President on the following. It's Dame Lorna Muirhead and Sir Mark Walpole. So do I have a proposer, please? John, thank you. And a seconder? David, thank you very much. Thank you. And now may I turn to the members, please? Does this have your support? Thank you very much. Excellent. So if I proceed for item 4.3, I can report that there are no new Vice President appointments during 2023. I'm going to now move on to Article 5.1 to accept that Article 11.11.3, that is the retirement of trustees, and I can report that Mr. Jeremy Lefroy retired from the Board of Trustees during the year, and also Professor Stephen Ward. Jeremy was, as many of you know, has been an active member in this field for a long, long time, but it's also pleasing for members to know that Jeremy continues as a board member on the IVCC board. Steve Ward, again, very well known to most people in this room. Steve stepped down as Deputy Director of Lstm and a staff member. And he was a staff member on the board for, was it 11 years? a considerable period of time. And so a big thank you to Steve for the contribution which he's made. Steve, thankfully, David, continues to give us guidance from afar and remains in the school. And for those of you who know him, you're going to get the guidance delivered pretty bluntly. So, Steve, a big thank you for all the work that you do. Can I accept both retirements, therefore, and ask for a proposer, please? Sue, thank you very much. And a seconder?
Yep.
John, thank you. And to the members, are you happy to support that? Thank you very much. So moving on to 5.2. Dick, at this point, I should hand over to you because I'm...
Okay, thank you, Jim. On behalf of the members of LSTM, we looked to re-elect under Article 5.5 Jim McKenna and John O'Brien for a further period of 3 years in term of office. Can I have a proposer, please? And somebody to second? Thank you. Can I ask for members' approval? Thank you. So done. Jim, to you.
I can continue then.
Yes, you're just about
Thank you very
made it.
much. So to conclude then, at 5.1, I can report there were no new trustee appointments during the year. On to item 6. I can report that Michael Blackstone retired in September. Michael joined LSTM almost 20 years ago, initially sitting on the council, which actually preceded the establishment of the Board of Trustees. But I understand he was also a very active member of the Finance and Investment Committee. So today it's an opportunity to thank Michael for the contribution and support which he has given the organisation over many years. I can report under 6.2 that there were no new members who joined the organisation throughout the year. So now I'm going to turn to item 7, which is the annual report. And if I may, I'd just like to give you a quick overview of a number of the activities which the school's been involved in over the last 12 months. And then I'll be followed by David and John. Well, I'm very pleased, obviously, to report it's been another year of wonderful progress for the school. This is obviously especially important in a 125th anniversary year. As custodians of LSTM's present and future, this is an important landmark, invites us to reflect on how we can ensure the long-term sustainability of the institution, allowing it to continue to thrive and to deliver its historic mission to improve global public health to disadvantaged communities across the globe. This year, the Board of Trustees have played a key role in developing an ambitious strategy for the next phase of the school's future. Though this strategy is actually shaped inevitably by the last 125 years, this strategy embraces change and a positive new direction for LSTM based on collaboration, capacity building, importantly, equitable partnerships and inclusivity, which is very much a theme of the language and the culture of the organisation. We will do this by fulfilling our ambition to increase both our research and our educational staff numbers so that we can equip our students with all the skills as well as the networks they will need to advance their careers in making a major difference to global public health. But it's also been a year in which the school has received significant recognition for its work. Recently, we received the Queen's Anniversary Prize for the first time, the highest national honour in higher education. This was awarded to the Tiny Targets TETSI control programme, which has made an incredible difference in protecting millions of lives in 5 African countries from the devastating disease of sleeping sickness. We were also shortlisted for the University of the Year at the Times Educational Awards, the flagship prize for universities awarded by the higher educational sector. Both of these outstanding achievements demonstrate our strength as a small, specialist, and I would always say unique institution that delivers impact far beyond our size. We also continue to transform our estate. We look forward to opening the Creator Building in Malawi, Henry, a building which will offer so much to African students, medics and researchers. Here in Liverpool, we continue to invest in our campus, as we will soon host the largest educational human challenge facility in the UK, enabling LSTM to be an integral part of the solution to emerging threats within global health. One important thing always to mention, it's an opportunity for me to do so, and that is the critical role which LSTM's board plays in actually moving the organisation forward. You know, much of their work often goes unseen, but it is an opportunity to thank my colleagues on the board for their continued hard work and support, and importantly, wise counsel to the chair, which on occasions they sort of nudge quite with large elbows. But I do thank you all. Thank you very much for all your hard work. It's obviously a pleasure to work with you. Throughout the year, obviously, it's been a delight to welcome two new members. Professor Sabina Rashid joined us, and also Catherine West MP. And certainly the board's already benefit from their expertise and insight. But if I could just repeat, it's also an opportunity for me to thank Jeremy Lefroy, really, for the contribution that he has made over many years. As we work through our 105th anniversary year, there's still inevitably much to do. But I'm pleased to say that the senior management team, the staff, and the wider LSTM community continues to work with so much dedication and passion. And for those of you that were at the graduation ceremony yesterday, you know, it was a wonderful event, and it really summed up the organisation, both in terms of I described it as the wonderful feeling that was in the room. It was tremendous. It's always tremendous to see graduates happy on the day and their parents celebrate with them. But it said much about what LSTM stands for. So to those of you who put lots of hard work in yesterday and continue to do, big thank you to Marie and her team. So look, just a big thank you to the whole LSTM community and family, as I describe it, because that's what I believe we are. And that's what was demonstrated yesterday for the major contribution that they've made throughout the course of the last year. Thank you very much. I'm now going to hand over to David.
Thanks, Jim. And so, I mean, I'm delighted as well to say I think we have had a really highly successful year at LSTM. As Jim says, the main feature, I think, has been the launch of our new strategy, and that sets out our priorities for the next 5 years. And I think in our 125th anniversary year, I hope the strategy will make sure that LSTM remains relevant and continues to have impact in what is a really rapidly changing world and changing scientific environment. We launched that strategy at the staff conference, which was attended by colleagues from across LSTM and also many of those colleagues from our hubs in Africa. And during the conference, we had our inaugural staff awards, and it was really great to be able to acknowledge the individual work that's carried out by many people across the organisation, not always seen, but winners were nominated by their peers for their outstanding contribution. And I think the quality, the professionalism and the dedication of our staff really does remain at the heart of LSTM's success. A key element of that new strategy is the implementation of a number of transformative projects that I hope will enable LSTM to meet the challenges of the future. We are implementing new finance and research management services, systems, which along with reorganisation of our professional services will ensure that we can work more efficiently and more effectively, and also I hope will offer opportunities to further support our global partners and global hubs. And alongside that, we've made changes to the senior management team, so Deans in Partnership and Research and Innovation join our Deans of Education and Research Culture and Integrity. That underpins the expansion of our research activity and the engagement with our global hubs that is a critical part of our new strategy. And we also have a new Deputy Director, Professor Jonathan Ball. He joins us at an exciting time in our history. I think he may have found the first few weeks very challenging already, but I'm really looking forward to working closely with him. Jim has mentioned Steve Ward. Steve has been at the heart of LSTM's success over the last 20 years, and it's difficult to think of anyone who's done more to contribute to what we've achieved. And so, on behalf of LSTM, I'd really like to thank Steve for his enormous contribution, and also personally for the incredible support he's given me in his role as Deputy Director. And as Jim says, he's not going very far, and his voice will always be in my ear somewhere at various times. In November, we held, I think, what most people felt was a really successful 125th anniversary gala dinner, and it was attended by many of our key stakeholders, not only in the UK, but also from overseas. In my speech at that dinner, I highlighted the importance of reflecting on LSTM's colonial origins and the effect that colonialism has had on those countries and communities where we continue to work. We are developing a long-term history and heritage strategy, including a funding review of our history, which I hope will guide us in addressing that colonial past. And also, actually, we're committed to the digitization of our archives to make them accessible to all. This work, I think, will be key to our future strategic plans and will help us ensure that decisions we make now and in the future have equity at their core. And driven by our Race Equality Action Plan, or Race Equity Action Plan, we remain committed to becoming a truly active anti-racist organisation. Jim's mentioned the continued development of our estate, and I think we need to do that because of the growing needs of the organisation. Pembroke House, opened last year, has been highly successful. It brings new state-of-the-art learning facilities, simulation suites, and it brings together both industrial partners and our students. And development of Mary Kingsley Building will also, I think, transform the student experience, a key element now in attracting students from around the globe. It will provide new library facilities and really will make the environment for our students far greater. The Human Challenge Inpatient Unit will become the largest academic unit in the country and will become a key element not just for LSTM's translational medicine and experimental medicine aims, but also within the UK as a critical part of UK infrastructure to address emerging and global health infectious disease threats. And the Creator Building that again Jim mentioned will provide state-of-the-art laboratories, flexible learning spaces and simulation suites. But more importantly, will allow the interaction of clinicians, researchers, and students to access global health leaders, whether they be in Liverpool or anywhere around the world. And also, I think, will support our key ambition to develop the next generation of research leaders in Africa. I've mentioned already, I think, how key our staff, our students, and our partners are to all that we do, and they continue to help drive us forward in our vision to create healthy lives across the world. And Jim's mentioned our success. It was disappointing not to win Times Higher Education University of the Award as we sat in what was essentially a very scaled-down Oscar ceremony. But nevertheless, it's a major achievement to make that shortlist. And the Queen's Anniversary Prize, I think, for the TETSI programme, for the TETSI Control programme, was particularly gratifying because I think it typifies what LSTM does. It takes observations in the laboratory along a pathway, ultimately to the development and deployment of a control intervention delivered in partnerships with the communities that are affected by the disease. And that's what we do. And translational research and further development of those partnerships is at the heart of our future, and I think remain the defining feature of LSTM for the next 25 years. So I'll finish by thanking all those staff who worked so hard over the last year to contribute to LSTM's impact, and I hope you continue to do so, and to thank the Board of Trustees for their continuing time and support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good.
It's obviously an opportunity for me also to thank you for the leadership which you give to the organisation, which is truly inspirational. And again, those of you that were at the gala dinner, David, your speech and many of them were fantastic. It summed up LSTM, and as I said to Maria, it sets the standards for us going forward. But well done, thank you very much. Just before I ask for your approval of the annual report, it's an opportunity for me to remind you that this year the annual report will be in digital form. We've done this, and I think we mentioned it a year ago. It gives us the opportunity to actually kind of reach a much wider stakeholder base, both in the UK and overseas. So just a reminder on that. So therefore, may I actually turn and ask for approval of this year's annual report, please? Thank you. And a seconder, please. Thank you very much. Excellent. Right, I'm now going to turn to item number 8 on our agenda, and that is to adopt the financial statements of the school for the year to the 31st of July 2023. But first, John, may I turn to you and ask you for your annual report?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jim. Good afternoon. I'm delighted to present the 2023 financial highlights to the school's members. LSTM's group income of 155 against last year's 197 reflects a significant reduction in gifts in kind. However, as I highlighted previously last year again, these gifts in kind, although fully expensed, and although it's £35 million reduction, there is no impact at all on our bottom line. Our research income has continued on the growth trend of the past 5 years, with a 2% increase in income excluding gifts in kind. The support of Research England has bolstered the Office for Students funding to give an overall 4% growth over the previous year and reflects the benefit of a fantastic recent RF result. Our reported surplus for the year was 7.8 million compared to a deficit of 7.5 last year. If we exclude the USS pension deficit credit of 1.3 million, which actually last year was a charge of 12.2, and the unrealised currency and investment losses of 2.2 million, we achieved an underlying operational surplus of 6.9 million, which is comparable to last year's 6.5 million. This once again reflects a very creditable performance in the current challenging circumstances, and the significant efforts of the LSTM team and the great support of our research funders are very much appreciated. With inflation and interest rates at significantly increased levels and continuing macroeconomic challenges, the budget for 2023-24 has been set at break-even. Our group net assets at the year-end were 56 million against 2022 48. If we add that pension deficit provision back, which is likely to be reversed next year, my apologies, I don't write the accounting standards, but that would actually be a £20 million addition and will bring our net assets to a figure of £76 million. Whilst our group cash has decreased by 4 million over the year, which largely reflects the cyclical nature of research grant awards and drawdowns, it still sits at 40 million, which represents a significant portion of our net assets. Overall, therefore, the financial condition of LSTM, with the support of our research funders, remains healthy, and that's despite the challenging political and economic conditions. That support from our funders is illustrated in the pipeline of LSTM and IVCC research projects, with a portfolio of £620 million. That compares to last year's figures of 561. And we have what's called an unexpended balance, so that's money still to spend, of 181 million at the year end, which is only marginally down on the previous year's figure of 183. It's also very pleasing to note that the number of applications submitted to funders in the year has increased by 13%. As has been said, towards the end of the financial year, LSTM made an outright purchase of the Liverpool Life Sciences Accelerator building. Taking control of the whole building will facilitate the growth and expansion envisaged by the new LSTM strategic plan. And as has previously been said, the installation of the new inpatient human challenge facility in the Accelerator building in 23-24 will provide a unique cutting-edge facility for infectious disease research. In Malawi, construction continues on the Creator building in conjunction with our partners Wellcome Trust and the University of Liverpool. This facility will deliver a 30% increase in clinical research, as well as a state-of-the-art training facility for the doctors and research scientists. To support our excellent dedicated research teams, we continue to invest in our IT infrastructure under our digital-first strategy, including a new finance system and improved reporting and analysis systems to give the researchers the best information to make the best decisions. Such significant investment across LSTM's estate and its wider infrastructure reflects our world-class leadership in global health, particularly in infectious diseases. Thank you.
John, thank you very much, as ever. And once again, also thank you for that enormous amount of time and effort you and colleagues put into supporting the team. Can I have a proposer, please, to adopt the financial statements? Thank you, Sue. And the seconder, Mark, thank you. Members happy to adopt the financial statements? Excellent. Thank you very much. Our final item then to formally approve under Article 11.11.5 is the reappointment of Grant Thornton as the school's independent auditors. LSTM's audit committee, enabling LSTM's audit committee to agree their remuneration. Can I please have a proposer? Mark, thank you. And a seconder, please. Thank you very much. Are members happy to support the recommendation? Great. Thank you very much. Excellent. That brings me on to any other business, and I've got two items. Firstly, just it's the opportunity to tell you that next year's AGM will actually be held on the 10th of December 2024. So important diary date for you for a year's time. The second really is it's an opportunity just to actually announce that our long-serving, very long-serving President, Sir Richard Evans, will stand down early in the new year. If I may, Dick, Dick has had an association with LSTM for many decades, and certainly for the last 2 decades in an important ambassadorial role. And when asked for some information on Dick and those that you know him, they gave me a biography that was about 4 pages long of all the very senior appointments in business that Dick has actually held over the years, and it would take me a long time to actually kind of work through and talk about those. But if I may not talk about those things, Dick, but just a couple of reflections on Dick Evans, the man, and you know what makes a great senior ambassador, and that is the timing and the ability just to put your arm round the chief executive when he looks pretty lonely, because it can be a bit of a lonely job, as we know. Or a sharp elbow to the chairman to say, I think really need to kind of deal with this. But you know, the thing that really sums you up as an individual is what I saw yesterday, Dick, and it's the man with great humility. Yesterday, wonderful day at graduation, and as we were about to part, having performed our ceremonial duties, we couldn't find Dick because he was still out with the parents and the graduates, you know, talking to them, celebrating them. And it's your ability, I think, to realise how important those events are and how special they are to each individual. And you know, you've got a great ability to do that, Dick. And I thank you for all the long service you've actually put in to LSTM and the support we've had from you. So if everyone would just join us.
Jim, thank you for those gracious sort of words. I might just sort of recall for most of you who will not know how I became involved here, but as a relatively young man, I'd been sent out to work in India, and took with me some 500 people from Preston and Lancashire, most of whom I discovered, let alone having been out of Preston, had not been to London before, and certainly therefore hadn't been to India. But in that period of time, we had a huge problem in having to Kazivac quite a significant number of people back to the UK with various diseases which I knew nothing about. But I have to say, in my time here, I learned a lot more about them. But it was at a time when, in the UK, if you didn't sort of fit into recognisable sort of illness categories, you were locked away in a sanatorium. And in Blackpool, there was a large sanatorium in which the people who were Kazivac'd back here referred to their GPs who obviously couldn't diagnose them, were incarcerated in this particular building in Blackpool. And I remember going to it on one occasion and being absolutely appalled by it. And completely by chance, somebody mentioned to me a school or an establishment in Liverpool that may be able to help. And I came across here, I think I was probably about, I don't know, 35 or 36, something like that. Anyway, it was a hell of a long time ago. And found 2 people here who came to Blackpool and completely transformed the problem that we actually had. And from that period onward, we didn't send anybody overseas who didn't actually get a tick against them from LSTM. And from that time, I've been delighted to be associated with what's gone on here. This is a fantastic organisation. It doesn't get the recognition that it actually should have. I did say to you when you joined, you've joined what is one of the best kept secrets in the world, which is the sheer capability of what we have here. And it is an absolute gem to be protected, to be developed, and which we need to be telling not only the government here, but many other governments and many other influential organisations of the capabilities that we have in this country in the highest areas of research in medicine generally. And I leave you with my heartfelt wishes and thanks for the experience that you people here have given to me and the enjoyment at the same time that I've had actually working with you. Jim, thank you to you and to the board, trustees, and to everybody else. Thank you very much indeed.
Dick's pending retirement has given us really the opportunity to, will give us an opportunity to reflect on the type of individual who will replace Dick, but it's also given us the opportunity to reflect on titles to actually bring LSTM more into line with other higher education institutions. And so it's our intention that Dick's replacement will be called Chancellor, and that David's title at the same time will be changed to Vice-Chancellor, and that will bring LSTM much more into line with the rest of the higher education institution. So once again, thank you very much. So I'm going to close the formal part of the business, and I'm going to hand over to Bertie in a minute, unless there's any points that anyone wants to raise. No. Bertie, may I hand over to you? May I just say that the waistcoat is even brighter than yesterday, and so warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair of the Board, colleagues. So I have the tremendous honour now to introduce Henry Mwandumba. Henry has many professional roles, and I'm going to list them for you. So the first is Director of the Malawi Liverpool Wellcome Research Programme in Malawi. And as an aside, MLW celebrated their 25th anniversary recently, and I'm proud to be wearing said waistcoat, which is made from the chitenji material that was printed for that occasion in Malawi. And I hope you'll agree that it has the right festive colours for Christmas: red, green, and plenty of brightness. So that's role number one, Director of the MLW programme. Role number two is as a consultant physician at the Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital, Blantyre, Malawi, which is the host organisation, if you think about the geography of the MLW programme. The buildings of the MLW programme are within the grounds of the Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital. Third role is as Professor of Immunology and Infectious Diseases in the Department of Clinical Sciences at LSTM. And the fourth role is as a consultant in infectious diseases at the Tropical Infectious Diseases Unit at the Royal Liverpool University Hospital. So no mean feat to span that range. To go back in time, Henry excelled early in his career, starting as one of the few Malawians to train in medicine before Malawi had a medical school. It now has the Kamuzu University of Health Sciences, which is a formal partner of the MLW programme. Henry had just completed his training in Zimbabwe and returned to Malawi when I met him, and we worked together in the Department of Medicine at Kamuzu Central Hospital in Lilongwe for a couple of years from 1992. Henry's intellect, clinical and scientific ability really shone through, and it afforded him the opportunity to train in internal medicine and then as a specialist in infectious diseases in the UK. In the course of that training in infectious diseases, he won a Wellcome Trust training fellowship, first one awarded to an African, and that took him back to Malawi and really was the start of his academic career. Further grants and fellowships were to follow, and a special collaboration grew up with Professor David Russell at Cornell University in the United States. As no doubt you'll hear, Henry's main work is in Malawi as a leading clinician scientist in his field, and he's built what is arguably the strongest immunology group in the region. His direct personal and professional experience of the HIV and TB pandemics underpins the passion and drive which he brings to science in Africa. Henry's scientific achievements are victories won in the laboratory by a clinician who has a clear commitment to critically ill patients. I hope you've grasped that from what I've said so far. In addition, he's been treasurer of the East Central and Southern Africa College of Physicians, EXACOP, and is past president of the Federation of African Immunology Societies. Last year, he was awarded the Weber Parkes Prize by the Royal College of Physicians of London, and today he's fresh from delivering a keynote address on the 27th of November at the International Congress of Immunology in Cape Town. Henry, over to you.
Thank you, Bertie, for a very kind introduction. And it's really good to be here. I'm not going to talk about my research, but what I thought I should do is do a joint presentation with our Chief Operating Officer, Aubrey Shalira, to talk about MOW, because the MOW and LSTM connection or partnership is really important to us. And my talk will build nicely on what Sir Richard just mentioned about the role of LSTM on the global scene, and I think this will come through in my presentation. So about 28 years ago, most people in this room will remember that the late Professor Malcolm Molyneux set up the Malawi Liverpool Wellcome Research Program in Blantyre together with colleagues like Professor Peter Winstanley. But a program that started with very few people, and most of you, or some of you remember, Malcolm started with only 4 clinical research fellows from, who were funded by Wellcome Trust. He had 1 program manager, 1 laboratory manager, 2 laboratory assistants, and that's what MOW was at the time. But I'll give you our journey to where we are now. And from a program that started with about 7 people, we are now about 918 people. And this has happened in the space of the last 28 years. And I hope you can feel and appreciate the role that our founding partners, including LSTM, have played in this success story. So LSTM, UOL, and Wellcome have been very fundamental in the activities at MOW. And the way the program started was really strategic in the sense that it developed at the time that Malawi was establishing its medical school. And we became very much an integral part of that medical school. And Malcolm and his colleagues felt at the time that this was the best way to have impact through the research that the program was going to conduct. And the strategic location of the program is such a way that we can access patients to make a difference through our research, but also we are able to go into the community to undertake research that brings change to the community, but also informs various national programs that the government can take on. So this close link with clinical services, but also community, is critical and is at the heart of the work that we do. Like any other organization, we have governance structures. We do have an executive committee. It's not a board like LSTM has, because MOW is not a legal entity on its own. Our legal status is with the Kamuzu University of Health Sciences at the moment. But we are working towards becoming independent due to several other factors. But this current governance ensures that we conduct our business in a manner that is transparent, but also internationally acceptable. And we have me as the director. We have the research strategy group that really looks at what research we need to do and how that research is important to Malawi, but also internationally excellent. And then we have the operations strategy group, or the heads of department, who are really a critical group in deciding how best to support this research so that we deliver on what we want to deliver for Malawi and globally as well. We conduct our research in 6 themes, but these themes actually are interdisciplinary and made up of 22 research groups working together. And this is really important for us to bring about that coordinated effort and focused goals in what we want to achieve. Key to what we do is the policy unit, which ensures that any research that we do should have a way of translating into policy as much as possible. And over the last 5 years, the policy unit has been really critical in engaging MOW with government, and a lot of the research that has happened during that time has been known to government, and some of it has translated into national policy, but also international policy. I'm the fourth director of the program. As I mentioned, Malcolm was the first. Rob Heidemann and Stephen Gordon were the other directors before me. But the important thing is that LSTM has supported every single one of these directors. All 4 of us have been employees of LSTM, and LSTM has borne the salary support and other support that it gives to the directors. And that really shows its commitment to ensuring the success of this program going forward. Again, MOW is one of Welcome's major international programs, or the so-called Africa-Asia programs. Now, there are 5 countries, or there are 5 programs in Thailand, Vietnam, Malawi, Kenya, and South Africa. And on this Gapminder, you see that Malawi is the only country with an Africa-Asia program in a very low-income country. And this is really important for us because every investment in research is likely to have a huge impact in terms of outputs. And this will become very clear when you look at Malawi's health challenges, which are enormous. And what the program has tried to do is to try and address most of these as much as we can. The population of Malawi is growing, and with that growth, obviously, comes other problems. The life expectancy has improved a lot, especially with the introduction of antiretroviral therapy for the treatment of HIV. And life expectancy has now risen to about 65 for an average Malawian from about 40 20 years ago. The HIV prevalence has gone down, but a lot of people are still living with HIV in their old age. And that, combined with diseases of old age, hypertension, diabetes, means that people are going to live longer with chronic conditions, and therefore multimorbidity is likely to be a problem. The issues that we have to grapple with still are, high rates of maternal mortality. Currently, about 381 women are dying surrounding childbirth, and also the high rate of, under 5 mortality. The program has realized that these are issues that we need to deal with. And over the last 3 to 5 years, there's been a lot of investment in trying to reverse the trend of maternal mortality through the research that we are doing. And this has been led by largely researchers from the University of Liverpool, but also working with colleagues from LSTM in this area. And clearly, we've started to make inroads into this, working with the Minister of Health to try and identify what are the causes that are killing women in childbirth and how can we reverse them. So you can see that our vision is really to use research to drive health, but also to ensure that our research is of the highest quality, that it benefits health. But if we're going to sustain this kind of research, we need to have the people who are going to do it. And therefore, our mission is to train the next generation of researchers and leaders, and not just researchers who work in Malawi, but researchers who will be global leaders in their own respective fields. As I said earlier, we operate in 6 themes: vaccines, maternal and neonatal child health, population health, infection biology, clinical and experimental medicine, but also social science. And each of these themes actually specializes in an area of interest, but all the themes talk to each other, and you find that the work that one theme does actually relates to the work that other themes does. And this really helps us to explain what we are doing in Malawi, not only to ourselves, but also to people outside of MOW. I did mention research groups in my introduction. The research groups are very much embedded within the research themes. And this slide simply shows the interactogram between the research themes and the various research groups. and this shows that the researchers are talking to each other and therefore formulating ideas together and working together for maximum impact. We believe that our research should be translational as much as possible, but we acknowledge the role that each stage in the translational pathway plays a role in bringing research to translation. And we value the input of basic scientists who inform what the translational people will be able to do. And we promote laboratory science, and we promote, in fact, science at every stage of the translational pathway. And if you come to MOW, we have people working at every single stage, but each stage talks to the next one to ensure that whatever people develop at the stage before them is carried forward, going forward by others. And this has proved to be very successful, but has also brought people together to work as a unit. So in the last 5 years, there have been some major successes that the program has achieved. Some of you probably have heard of the typhoid vaccine. We conducted this trial in Malawi, recruiting 28,000 children in 6 months. The vaccine was shown to be highly effective, and it was introduced in Malawi in the national program. And WHO has now recommended it for international use in various other places. And it is being taken up by countries in sub-Saharan Africa, but also internationally. We conducted the study with David and others for the treatment of cryptococcal meningitis in HIV-infected individuals using a simplified regimen, which was found to be highly successful. And again, Malawi rolled that out nationally, and is now international policy recommended by the WHO. We've been part and parcel of the malaria vaccine trials, which is now being rolled out in Malawi as well as a national program, just as WHO has recommended for its use internationally. During the COVID pandemic, MOW was at the core of driving not only the diagnostics for SARS-CoV-2 in Malawi. We were the first organization to establish the PCR test for this infection and translated it for the rest of the country. We were the first to sequence the variants that were circulating in Malawi, which informed vaccine strategies for the country and took Malawi off the UK red list at the time. There's been mention about the human challenge models, and Stephen Gordon established that recently. And we are now moving on to establish the TB challenge model, which nobody else has done to date, but we've decided to take the lead in that. We can only continue to achieve the success that we've achieved over the last 28 years if we have the right people to do it. And therefore, we need to train people to the highest level possible to be able to do this work. Over the last 5 years or so, we invested a lot in our training program through internships, and we've now succeeded to train people to PhD level. Currently, we have about 166 trainees at MOW, 52 of those are at PhD level. We face a challenge, though, that we need to transition all these trainees to research independence as much as possible. And therefore, the focus going forward is to get people from post-PhD to become independent researchers, as much as we can with the best support that we can give them. And this is where the creator building comes in, and linkages with institutions like Lstm and other institutions in the UK will become very important in helping shape our postdocs, equipping them with the skills that they need to transition to research independence. We've established a lot of platforms at MOW that will allow us to work both in the community but also in the hospital. And we have some of the cutting-edge techniques in the lab from immunology, genomics, single cell, and molecular microbiology. So this offers an opportunity to people from high-income countries who want to use high-end facilities in a low-income country to come and work in Malawi. And for us, this is a strong point to allow exchange of knowledge between high-income countries and low-income countries like Malawi, and therefore facilitate the development of personnel, but also expertise in a low-income setting, but also enabling those coming from high-income countries to acquire expertise from low-income countries. So, to summarize, in the last 3 decades, they've been extremely successful for MOW. we've been engaged in high-impact translational research. That's made a difference not only in Malawi, but globally. We have been involved in research capacity strengthening. And there's a lot of evidence for that. I mean, I trained at MOW as a PhD student, as Bertie has said, through the Wellcome Trust grant. But I've gone through the ranks to become director of the program. The associate director trained at MOW as well for her master's and PhD. Again, went to QS and came back to MOW. So you find that the leadership of MOW right now is actually people who trained at MOW, strongly supported by LSTM and other, other partners. And for us, we're really grateful, and it shows maturity of the program, and I think the right intention by the founding partners to support the development of local talent and support it to actually take over the running of an institution like this one. I said our numbers have grown from about 7 to 916 employees and trainees. Our grant income keeps rising. Right now, we're at about £10 million a year in grant income. Our publication record is over 200 publications a year. And over the last 3 decades, we have produced 21 professors, some of whom are in this room, employees of LSTM and UOL. But what I'm proud of is that of those 21 professors, at least 10 of them are still resident in Malawi. And that is important for us because we are retaining the capacity in country to be able to train more people and drive the research program that we've started. And our impact or our influence on national policy and international policy is unquestionable from some of the examples that I've given you. And I didn't tell you about pneumococcus, I didn't tell you about HIV self-testing, I didn't tell you about rotavirus because those are old stories. But actually when you search, you find that MOW has been at the center of driving those important contributions. So going forward, and for us, I think we really need to focus on what we want to achieve going forward. The success that we've achieved in the last 3 decades is enormous, and there's no way we can let that go. We can only build on that to be more successful. But we need to be very careful what are the things that will make a difference to what we have already achieved. And for me, I think our research has got to be innovative, and research innovation and probably linking that to industry and developing products that will stand out will be extremely important. So scientific discovery is the main thing that we're going to go forward and focus on. Our training has got to continue, and like I said, the focus is really transitioning people to research independence and retaining them as much as we can in country to drive that process going forward. Aubrey will talk about our operations in a moment, but that is really important. If you have great support from the operations department, you can do wonderful research. And in Malawi, we've been really lucky to have a very strong operations team to support the research that we do. Critical, I think, is the governance as well. We need to create governance structures that will create a conducive environment for people to work and for people to flourish. And I think we're doing that at the moment. And one thing that we really need to work on is to respond to the changing landscape where funders really want to fund directly to low-income countries. How do we adapt to be able to not lose the funding that we have, but to attract more funding? I think the legal status issue will become more important going forward. I believe we can resolve this by consultations with our founding partners and all key stakeholders in MOW to be able to find an amicable solution. Partnerships are critical to us because we believe that the success of the last 30 years came about because of the strong partnerships that we have with our UK partners, but also with our Malawi partners, especially the Malawi government. We are determined to continue working with partners within country, but also outside of Malawi to ensure that they contribute and are part of that success story. What is critical for us is to have these respectful and mutually beneficial partnerships where every partner is treated as an equal partner, irrespective of where they are or what they're bringing to the table, because we value every contribution that a partner brings to our table. Our research priorities will focus on mainly infectious diseases because that's a major issue, but we cannot ignore the impact of climate change on the science that we do. And for the next core grant, which is coming up, climate change will be a major feature because we know that this will have impact on everything that we do, not tomorrow, but in the next 10, 15 years going forward. And there's been a mention of Creator. This is a flagship investment for us. It is a flagship investment for LSTM, UOL, and Welcome. And we're really grateful to LSTM for investing a huge amount of money to bring this to fruition. But the critical thing about Creator is not only will it advance our training and research, but it will connect people, our trainees, to LSTM directly. And the ambition to connect this to Pembroke House and other centers of learning, I think will just enhance the learning experience for our learners, our trainees. But also it will allow us to work with other organizations within Africa to expand the research portfolio, but also I think it will attract more funding. We anticipate that we'll have a 30% increase in growth in research when Creator is open. And this is where I think LSTM has had a huge impact in MOW. The leadership of MOW is strongly supported by LSTM, and LSTM has been really fundamental in supporting all the directors, but also other leaders, for example, our COO like Aubrey Shalira. LSTM teams have worked very closely with our operations departments, the finance team, IT teams, HR. These are all important, support functions that have helped us to stand on our own over the last few decades. I mentioned Creator as part of the infrastructure and estates, to which LSTM has contributed directly. And for me, one of the biggest things that LSTM has done is to really invest in capacity strengthening, human capacity strengthening in Malawi, to allow us to transition and take over the running of MOW. So you find that the dynamics of LSTM and MOW from what they were when Malcolm was director are very different to what they were now, what they are now. Now we are partners, but in Malcolm's time it was more LSTM supporting, but now LSTM can ask us, how can you support us? And it's very evident we support a lot of trainees who come to Malawi from the UK. Likewise, we have a lot of our staff operating at LSTM as members of staff of LSTM, doing research with partners at LSTM. So this is my final slide. I think, over the last 30 years, we have delivered world-leading research in a low-income country. Our focus has largely been on infectious diseases, but going forward, there are other challenges that we need to respond to. We've had impact on health and science, and we have had impact on policy nationally and globally. We want to, continue on this trajectory to be an internationally recognized, research institute in a low-income country. And we are committed to delivering excellent science and to developing Malawian, African, and international scientific leaders, irrespective of where they come from. But our goal is to have our research translate into policy and make a difference in people's lives. Thank you. I said it's a joint presentation. Aubrey Chalira-Piri is our Chief Operating Officer. And Aubrey is really very active in LSTM activities. And I think it would be nice for him to give you the operations overview, how he sees operations supporting research in Malawi and how we work with LSTM to ensure that that happens. Aubrey, please take over. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Henry. I hope you can hear me. Good afternoon. Once again, thank you, Henry. And as has been mentioned, my name is Aubrey Chalira-Piri, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Malawi-Liverpool Wellcome Research Program. Once again, I would say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share with you the pivotal role that our operations department works in advancing our research and science. I'd like to begin by sharing with you a visual representation of our operations unit, which really we do believe is the foundation or roots of our research success at MLW. Just imagine a healthy tree with a strong and extensive root system. That is how we envision our operations here at MLW. The roots and anchor us all and allow us to thrive in our research initiatives. The leaves of this tree are the visible manifestation of our work representing our research activities. But then we always look at it to say together between the operations and research teams, we form a synergy really that produces the impactful research outcomes that we do have. Now, as I continue with this tree analogy, I would like to briefly get into how our partnership with Lstm has played a pivotal role in strengthening these roots and thereby enabling us to actually do great research. Our journey with Lstm has been enriching. Really, the strategic direction and guidance, as Henry has said, which we have received from different senior people, has really fueled our decision-making process with invaluable insights. You know, just like roots draw nutrition from the soil, our operations has been strengthened through a mentorship and collaboration with Lstm teams. And these interactions have really stimulated our systems across various departments, leading to shared success, mainly in areas like finance, health and safety, safeguarding, IT, and procurement. Really, the assistance includes Lstm facilitating, for example, the procurement of crucial supplies like lab reagents and consumables, mainly at times when it has been challenging for us to procure those items locally. And such support has really significantly enhanced our research capabilities. So for us, the partnership with Lstm is not just about support. It's about building a stronger foundation for groundbreaking research and our operation excellence. Now, to give a perspective of our operations unit, the unit really comprises of 13 specialized units, which includes finance, information technology, communications, community engagement, risk management, and compliance. Apart from these, we also do have the 4 research support units, which you see on the right-hand side. These support units are the lab, the biostatistics, the data, and clinical. These 4 support units really provide an end-to-end support to all our studies, from the development of the studies, from development of the projects to the project closeout. And together, all these 13 units within operations, they are dedicated to providing exceptional support to MLW scientists and researchers. Because we do believe that by us focusing on the operational side of things, really we enable our colleagues in research to focus on their groundbreaking science and research work. I just want to give you a perspective of MLW by some numbers, okay? Currently, as MLW, we do have 2 sites, one in Blantyre and the other one in Chikwawa. Chikwawa is just about an hour's drive from Blantyre. And within these 2 sites, it's comprised of about 8 buildings within that. And that gives us a total of about 4,200 square meters of usable space. Now, like Henry has mentioned, with the coming of the Creator Building, which we expected to be completed in the second quarter of 2024, the floor space will double to about 7,500 square meters of floor space. But additionally, apart from us having these buildings in Blantyre and Chikwawa, we also work in 14 partner-owned field sites, mainly in government hospitals and health centers. And by working in these 14 sites, it allows us to extend our reach to different populations in Malawi in doing our research. As Henry has mentioned as well, we have a dedicated team of about 918 members, which has grown from 495 in 2017. We do have a fleet of 27 vehicles, which on average covers about 65,000 kilometers per month to undertake the field activities. And again, in keeping with our commitment to safeguarding, we are proud to say that almost 100% of our staff have actually completed the initial safeguarding training since we have implemented the policy on safeguarding about a year and a half ago. Now, we need to look at the external environment in which we operate in order for us to understand our current landscape and also to think about the future strategies. Now, let's begin by looking at our external context by looking at issues of economic climate. Currently in Malawi, our overall inflation stands at 29.7%. And within that, the food inflation is at 36.8%. The anticipation is that by the end of this year, this inflation will reach about 31%. But there's hope in future because the outlook is that towards the end of next year, we should start seeing this inflation possibly coming down. Secondly, if we shift to health, Malawi as a country, we do face a number of health challenges. And recently, last year, we had the cholera outbreak, which affected 58,000 people in the country. And again, the point is that these health crises have a profound impact, not only on the community's well-being, but it has also an impact on our research initiatives. These public health challenges, they do necessitate at times for us to realign our resources and reprioritize certain things. And they definitely do influence both our ongoing and planned research activities. Again, just following from the same issue of health on climate, from my perspective, events like the Cyclone Freddy, which we had early last year, these do severely impact our work. In some instances, we have had to temporarily halt our studies, particularly in times when accessing certain areas becomes almost impossible. Again, these interruptions are a significant hurdle in our research journey, but we have found ways of how we can actually manage through them. The other area is with regards to our human resource presence. This is, again, yet another challenge for us. The challenge comes in a sense that MLW, we are possibly the largest research institution in Malawi. And therefore, attracting the right talent is really a persistent issue due to the limited availability of local talent within the country. Because of this, we end up being not just a research institution, but we are also a creator of talent. And we know, whilst it's inevitable that we lose some of our staff to other organizations, we actually do take pride in contributing to the growth of the research community within the country. Finally, the issue about the importance of partnerships, like Henry mentioned earlier on as well, this cannot be overstated in terms of the work that we do. Our work cannot progress without strong collaborations in the field. We rely heavily on our partnerships locally, like I said earlier on, with the district hospitals, with the health centers, which really form an integral part of our research efforts. To put now an internal context, over the years, we'll see that MLW has achieved remarkable growth in both research funding and staff. Henry has mentioned this as well, that our research funding has seen a significant growth, growing from £4.6 million in 2017 to £10.1 million in 2022, which gives us almost 120% growth within those years. Definitely, this exceptional growth for us, it reflects our significant investment in critical research areas. Again, as shown by the staff numbers significantly from 495 in 2017 to 918 currently in 2023. That's giving us an 85% growth overall. But the most important as well is we see that within that, our research staff have grown by 105%. Coming to our core grant from Wellcome. This core grant which we received from Wellcome, it really does provide us with sustainability in our growth. And over the years, I think as MLW, we have really effectively leveraged on this core grant funding to really maximize our research impact. Wellcome's core grant provides about 31.7% of our total funding, and we secure other competitive research grants which account for the 68.3% of our total expenditure per year. And out of this 68.3, 15% of this competitive funding is recovered as indirect costs and other recharges. Really, from this perspective, we see the point that I made earlier that really we do leverage on the core grant, because for every pound that we receive of core grant, we are able to raise £2.15 of competitive research funding. As operation support research, as we support research within MLW, there are certain areas that are very critical for us. First of all, our business processes, our risk management and compliance, these have been strengthened in the recent years. Really, as I mentioned earlier on, one of the major achievements for us is the establishment of our safeguarding office. And like I mentioned, we are quite proud of the fact that 100% of our staff have actually been trained already in safeguarding, and some of them are actually undertaking refresher trainings at this point in time. I think this commitment to safeguarding is a testament of our dedication to creating a secure and respectful workplace within MLW. Furthermore, we have actually made significant strides in automating our systems. This modernization ensures that our scientists have world-class systems at their disposal, enabling them to conduct their research more efficiently and effectively. Henry has mentioned the issue about governance and ensuring that we comply with all regulations. And in this area of risk and compliance, we have established an office for risk and risk management. This office plays a critical role in ensuring that we adhere to the high standards of research governance. And again, speaking of governance, we are particularly proud that in the last 5 years, out of 63 of our studies that have undergone inspection, none of our studies have actually been closed for issues of governance. To us, this is a clear indication of our commitment to maintaining the high standards in our research practices. Again, it's worth mentioning about our public engagement strategies, which we look at as more than just methods. They are tools and they are our structures essential for conducting ethical and impactful research. Our strong relationships with the community have not only aided in the recruitment, but have also led to results that have been adopted nationally and internationally, like Henry has mentioned. Now, looking ahead, as we look towards the future of MLW, there are certain key strategic initiatives we have for our operations unit. These initiatives which we do have are not just plans for us, but they are our commitment to a more efficient and inclusive MLW. First of all, it's about enhancing our operations. Again, we go back to Creator. Definitely a major leap forward is the coming of the Creator building, which we anticipate will lead to a significant 30% increase in our research activity. And we also forecast that our numbers in postgraduate studies will possibly increase up to 140 per year. This expansion is not just about numbers, but it's about us deepening our impact in our research. Next, in terms of our outlook, is about having advanced technology. In this regard, we are employing technology to enhance our efficiency and our capability. When we look at our technology, we look at things including deploying high-performance computing, which will help us in terms of complex modeling, such as for climate change studies, improving our data storage capacities for sequencing, and also it will allow us implementing robust cybersecurity systems to safeguard our invaluable research data. These technological advancements are crucial in keeping MLW at the forefront of research and data security. Next is we turn to issues of our environment strategy. As MLW, we are committed to reducing our carbon footprint, and we do have initiatives like solar energy and also transitioning to more efficient, going to minus 70 in our freezers as opposed to the traditional minus 80. And all these steps, we really look at them as to demonstrate our commitment to the environment and also contributing to operational efficiency and cost reduction for us. In the domain of inclusion and equity, we are focused on promoting female leadership and establishing clear succession plans across all our departments, both also at senior management level and at also heads of departments. Additionally, we are also in the process of creating a diversity office to ensure a safe and welcoming research environment for everyone. We believe that setting up this office will play a pivotal role in nurturing a culture of diversity and inclusion within MLW. Lastly, we have patient public involvement and community engagement. In this regard, our goal is to involve the community more deeply in our work, be it through input of data collection tools, in terms of the protocols that we use, or consenting processes that we use within MLW. This inclusive approach is fundamental to ensuring that our research remains connected to the needs and perspectives of the people we serve. In conclusion, I just want to say that these strategic directions are not just about growth, they are about MLW making a more efficient, inclusive, and environmentally responsible organization. With that, I would like to say thank you so much. And obviously, having heard from both our science about our training and about our operations, I would assume there could be some questions or some comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aubrey. Do stay on the line. We do have now 10 minutes of opportunity to have some exchange and conversation. And I'd like to bring in my colleague Miriam, Professor Miriam Tetmeier, who is head of the Department of Clinical Sciences. Professor Tetmeier and Henry trained in infectious diseases along with us at a similar time. And Miriam's going to facilitate the next segment of our conversation. Miriam and Henry, if I could bring you forward as well to have a fireside chat electronically with Aubrey to your left. Aubrey, you have to imagine that you're facing a room of very collegial colleagues. Sadly, we can take questions from in the room, but not online. Miriam.
Marie, thank you. If you do have a question, please do put your hand up. I think I can see everyone, including Mike behind the pillar there, but not easily. So put your hand up if you have a question. That was really impressive, Henry. Thank you. And the impact of MLW, so impressive too, and how you're positioned to make impact really stood out for me. And it was the way the journey was a relationship. It was quite intense at times, quite joyous at times, a bit painful perhaps at times. But it stood out that it felt like a relationship of mutual support. And mutual support with a common goal. And really it felt to me like to achieve that common goal, it was more than what was on the slides, but there was something about a philosophy, a life philosophy or values that was important. And I often think about that at Lstm, how it's important for us to stick to our values when we're doing our work. And central to that, it's not just the institution, what's on paper, the institution's philosophies, but it's about the people. And it's about the leadership. So thank you to you and to Aubrey and Janelise and others for that leadership and sticking to the values. And with that, I'm going to have the first question because I've got the microphone. And then after that. So as we decolonise LSTM here, what would you like our future role to be? And we've just heard Jim say, we've got to stay afloat as well.
Thanks, Miriam. So there's a lot of talk about decolonization. And there's a lot of, sense to that because the past has been traumatic for a lot of people. But I do think diversity is extremely important in any institution, whether you are in a low-income setting or in a high-income setting. And diversity can be in race, in culture. You can have diversity in a country by having different tribes working together in unison. For me, I think MLW's success over the last 3 decades has been really underpinned by the diverse nature of people working at MLW. From within Malawi's different tribes, but also having international staff coming from the UK, from other countries. Because people do, when you have a diverse community, you have different opinions, and if you listen to each other and treat each other respectfully, you build something greater. I personally don't believe that Malawians alone can drive MLW to its greatest potential. I think we do need people coming in from outside with other ideas. What we need to do is to be welcoming and to create an environment where everybody comes to work and contribute to the growth of MLW, irrespective of where they're coming from. And I think that will help us actually get over our colonial past and to look at the future in a different manner and not focusing on what used to be, but what we can achieve as a community of different races, because that mixture, for me, is really great and is the only way forward.
This strength of diversity. Thank you. Thank you, Kathleen.
Well, thank you very much. That was a very impressive account. I'm John Ashton, and public health background. I was particularly interested for the future direction, the three things that I had identified for myself that needed to be on the agenda was the environmental, women issue, and public engagement. But the other thing that I think is missing so far, but it may be that you see this as included in social science, is political science. And whether this is on your agenda as well, because the implementation in the end is highly political.
That's an important question, and this is where we bring in our policy unit to help us work with various stakeholders in government. And Bertie knows this very well. Our policy engagement team is very active in working with not only the Minister of Health, but the Minister of Justice, the National Commission for Science and Technology, Minister of Finance. So they're in really reaching out to the key government policy makers to ensure that, one, they can facilitate translation of research, but also get a perspective from these key stakeholders on how best to do it. Because without their support, whatever we try to bring to the table, it will not take off if they don't support it. So we've been really good, and our policy lead, Rona, who is Ugandan, she's very experienced in evidence translation into policy, and very astute in how to handle politicians in order to get a message across to them. And I must say that over the last 3 years, we've been really successful in that respect, and that's why we've been able to go to the Minister of Finance, for example, to ask for tax exemption for building materials for Creator, because they understand what we're doing. We can go to Minister of Health with our research findings, but actually involving them in the research from the word go facilitates that as well. And what Rona and her team have done is to encourage researchers to engage all these key players as early as possible to make it easier later on to talk to them about translation.
Thank you, John. Alistair.
Hi, Henry and Aubrey. And I should say, I think I could add my chair to the fact that it's based on the work that we did at MLW. So I thank MLW for all the support that I've had in the past. But you're coming in with your training system with a lot of people at quite a junior level. And I remember Bridget Ogilvie, the then director of the Wellcome Trust, saying that in the northern philosophy of how science careers are managed, it's a very steep pyramid with lots of people falling off the sides. Is there a better model that isn't the northern model that you can think of how you manage not just the scientific careers, but the scientific support careers that you will have coming through MLW?
Yeah, I think that's an important question, and I think that's why we have seen tremendous achievement up to PhD level, but then got into some kind of bottleneck to transition those researchers into independent researchers. I really do think that the setting in in our situation is not too different from what it is in a high-income country, but I think there are ways of capitalizing the talent that we have and developing that talent in a different manner, because the direction is not only an academic route or research route. A lot of these individuals do play critical roles in other sectors. For example, we have had people who have trained at MOW for their PhDs. Mike Malewa, for example, is now the Vice Chancellor of the Kamuzu University of Health Sciences. He didn't have to be an active researcher, but that's taken him into the direction of leadership, which is extremely important. The Chief of Health Services in the Ministry of Health did her PhD at MOW, and she's taken over those roles. And there are several others who have gone into other sectors of Malawi and taken on really important roles, but not necessarily academic routes. And we think that the academic route is one path, but our products do have critical roles to play in other sectors, in government, non-government organizations, in policy-making bodies within and outside of Malawi. And I think that's really important for the growth of science in Malawi, but also in Africa in general.
Bertie?
Don't want to stand in the way of other questions, but Henry and Aubrey, I wonder if you could each say something a bit more about regional engagement. So I caught from your discussions how really well linked up you are with Malawi and globally, but I wondered whether you could say a little bit about both your academic vision for regional engagement and other partners, and maybe Aubrey, a little bit about where we're going with some of the Global Hubs Council and sharing of experience across professional services functions.
Aubrey, I can start and you can come in after me if that's okay. Yep. So I think we've realized this for some time now that we have been successful within Malawi, but haven't really been successful outside of Malawi. And we've engaged Welcome to try and support us to have a broader reach out of Malawi. And even within Malawi, it's mainly been Blantyre and not other parts of the country. The strategy we're taking now, and we've got funding from Welcome for this, is these research support hubs. Welcome has funded us, given us 1.2 million over a 3-year period to basically broaden our training strategy to include people from countries surrounding Malawi. So we're working with Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Mozambique, want to strengthen their research capacity in terms of applying for grants so that they have the same opportunities that we have created for people in Malawi so that they can also apply for funding and develop their own research careers. But part of this will be bringing people from outside of Malawi to train at MOW, and hopefully that will be an experience that will lead to the development of science in their own countries. You've mentioned the research hubs, which we think will facilitate the working within the LSTM hubs, but Aubrey can also talk about the Africa-Asia program hubs as well. And you've recently been to Ari. Would you like to share that experience as well?
Yeah. Thanks, Henry. Thanks, Betty. Yes, actually, first of all, maybe just to add with regards to the Global Hubs Council, and really, I think this has been a great initiative for us to engage a lot better within the LSTM hubs. But to add to that as well, I think what we've seen is that previously, in years back, there wasn't much engagement even between, for example, the Africa-Asia programs. But now there's been a lot of engagement. I would talk specifically, for example, from MLW's operations. We have seen a lot more of our engagement with our colleagues, for example, in Kenya and Kemri. And that engagement has even gone further to non-AAP institutions like MRC in Uganda. Recently, we've had engagement with Ari in South Africa. And in our discussions, we have seen really the need for us to engage more, not just at operations level, but to have coordinated engagements. So really what we're seeing is that the regional engagements are getting stronger and they're becoming a lot more beneficial, not just from a research perspective, but even an operational perspective as well. Thank you.
Got time for one more question, if anyone has one. I wanted to ask about the structural challenges. You talked about the legal status, and how does that impact Malawian PIs?
So that is an important question because our current situation is that if you're a Malawi PI, for you to get a grant straight into Malawi, it has to go through either one of the founding partners, either Kamuzu University of Health Sciences, Lstm, or University of Liverpool, because we cannot receive money directly unless we have legal status. And that has been, a bit challenging for most people and can be complex in some cases. But the issue is actually critical now because some of our major funders, a lot of our non-Wellcome funding comes from the Gates Foundation, and they are not going to fund low-income country research through high-income countries. And that means that we are at risk of losing that funding stream unless we find a way to try and reverse that. So our current strategy is to work with partners like Lstm, UOL, and KUHES to sort out the legal status issue, but in the interim to work with these major funders as well to find an amicable transition period before this can happen. And I think this will allow it to give more freedom to people in MOW and in Malawi to apply to funders like EDCTP, who would not fund through the UK, but also the Gates Foundation and other funders like the German Research Foundation, who are willing to fund directly to low-income countries, but not through high-income countries. And I think it will just diversify these opportunities for people.
Thank you. Thank you all for your questions today. And on behalf of LSTM, thank you, Henry and Aubrey. Thank you so much for joining us and for your talks and for the reflections. I'm going to hand back to David Worrell now to formally close the meeting.
Thanks, Miriam. I'd also like to thank Henry and Aubrey for the presentation and the Q&A. I now declare the 124th Annual General Meeting is closed. Thank you all for your attendance today. Please make your way through to the reception in the atrium to enjoy some refreshments. You'll also find 5 stands displaying some of the fascinating work of LSTM, so please take your time and look at the stands as well. Thank you all.